Najibnomics is basically an economic policies advocate by the 6th Prime Minister of Malaysia, Datuk Sri Najib Tun Abdul Razak, since he held office on April 3, 2009. It is a set of policy measures meant to transform Malaysia to a high-income and developed nation by the year of 2020. This is to be achieved through the dual objective of Najibnomics.
Today we want to ask you about Najibnomics. What do you understand about Najibnomics?
Okay, so now we are going to before that I will answer your salam. Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, so you have addressed me about the issue of Najibnomics, right? So Najibnomics basically is the idea on how our current Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Abdul Razak going to drive the national economics to become more independent nations, and at the end of the day we can reach to be a high developed nation lah. So we have a vision of 2020 which has been initiated by our ex-Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, but basically Najibnomics is try to extend the vision 2020 by implementing the what they call it the Economic Transformation Program, ETP, and this ETP is basically focusing more on the high rail projects as well as looking into the youth. So Prime Minister, he thinks that by the age of because he put one of the element of ETP is TN50, Transformation National 50, meaning by reaching the year of 2050, the youth at that point 30 years from now will become a good leader who can replace the current leader. So that is a part or gist of what the Najib economic is all about.
Okay.
Hope that answer the question.
Okay, thank you. For the second question, sir, as someone who is quite knowledgeable regarding economy, what transformation can really be seen with Najibnomics?
Okay, first we have to look that our Prime Minister has taken took over the country for the past 8 years, perhaps from 2004. 2004 is now is 2018, almost 14 years. 14 years. So he have been going through for 2 elections. So they Barisan Nasional managed to attain the power. So within this period 40 years, we can see once the Prime Minister came out, as I mentioned earlier, the ETP projects lah. So the good example of ETP project is the running MRT project. So Prime Minister addressed that one of the way to develop the nations, we must have a good public transportations. So as you can see, they are doing a mass rapid transits, whereby we are trying to link between the Malaysia states, as well as we are trying to link with our neighborhoods, Singapore as well as Thailand. And then you can see we have developed KLIA 2, okay, and then Prime Minister also have increased the image of taxi drivers, the image of the policy regards on the transportations. So ETP, one element I can see the Prime Minister focusing on the public transport, because he believes with the good transportation that can help to boost or to develop nation going heading towards vision 2020, and again vision of TN50 lah. Second transformation, Prime Minister is looking into developing the youth. Okay, at this point youth age is roughly around 20 years old. So Prime Minister believe that the youth, or we call it the Gen Y, they are the representative for coming future. So obviously Prime Minister expect he won't be living perhaps until the age of until the year of 2050, but he want to leave some legacy through the policy implemented by him that can develop or drive the youth to to become a successful leader into 2050. Perhaps that is one of the idea lah.
Okay, sir, for the last question, the most obvious result from Najibnomics are BRIM and GST. So, sir, what do you think about those two? Is it good or is it bad?
Okay,
For the
this
economy.
is quite a tricky question. So when we relate about GST and BRIM, so basically to answer this, I would like to put into two elements. There's a pro and cons. Okay, so we go through one by one. When we look into the pros of BRIM, perhaps go for the BRIMs. Okay, BRIM. Actually, if you talk about any economics practicing worldwide, there are very rare cases whereby the government give money directly to the people, because when you do that, so there sometimes become an issue of biasness, which people who deserve will get the payment, some people who do not deserve he won't get. So all this kind of thing, no. So that become unbalanced in the market. So when they want to implement this, they must be very careful in looking and in evaluating the real candidates who has the right to deserve or receive BRIM. But the good or the cons, that was the cons. Sorry, the pros of this BRIM is that when you give people money, at the end of the day, people will spend back the money to the market. So when they do the spending normally will stimulate economic growth. So that will make the movement of the economy to go ahead. For example, you get the BRIM money, you go and purchase something. Purchase any food, any necessity goods, normal goods. So when you purchase something, so the seller get some point of income. So that is how buying and selling works. When there's a demand, there is a supply. And obviously for you to demand and supply, you must need money to work within the mechanism. So about the GST, okay, GST, I'll talk about the pro and con as well. Okay, GST is a good service tax. Okay, if you look into the developed nation, we're talking about developed nation, Singapore, talking about UK, talking about Japan, all these countries, they implemented GST. Because when you reach a developed nations, GST is a part of the national income, but at the end of the day, that GST will be reimbursed back into the market and bring benefit to the people. Okay, but looking to our situation, the question is, are we ready enough to face GST or not? If you ask me, GST needed when we reach developed nation. Okay, as I give example earlier. But at this point, since we are still at the developing nation, we are yet to reach the Vision 2020, and then we are well know that some places, some rural area, the Malaysia area, people who are living at a very low range of income, all these things, supposedly for me, government should address that issue first. And if that can clear that things, clear the air, at the end of the day, the GST can come in. So my opinion is that, is it they implement GST is the right time for now? We need the GST. We need by hook or by crook. When we reach the developed nation, we need the GST. But is it now the right time? That is the question pondering in the mind of most of the people in Malaysia. But the good thing, if they have the collection of GST, they can reimburse back to the people, to the welfare, to the project, to the transportations, to the build up more hospitals, more forces from the police side, army side, all these things lah. Supposedly, if they use the right way, yes, GST is good, and it's a must actually for a developed nation. So are we ready to receive it now or not? That is another question that need to be addressed and need to be solved. So I hope that slightly give you some idea and hope that answering the question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Based on what we have did our research on, we can conclude that there's indeed a good effect and less satisfying effect of Najibnomics. Nevertheless, the successful one we should continue to implement for a better Malaysia, while the vice versa one, the current government should indeed do a recheck on how to overcome the holes in implemented policy.